and welcome to another video. I was going to do a junk journal video, but I realized it's almost the end of the month, which means I need to get my version of the Choose Your Own Adventure series up so that we can start afresh in February. So that means there's only a couple of days in January to get your January post done so that we can all start at the start of February for the next lot. Now we are continuing these because they were highly requested and a good way for you guys to get out of your comfort zone and to do something a little bit different. So I have my journal, which I'm going to create my spread in, and I've kind of gathered up bits and pieces for what the confines were. Now, if you remember, the prompt actually said that acrylic was the medium. So I took a little bit of creative freedom here and also pulled out my acrylic inks because it didn't just say acrylic paint, it just said acrylic. So I have grabbed out pink and yellow acrylic ink. I've also grabbed out various pinks, yellows and golds in all different shade variations just to have a play with color and things like that. So I have all different types of yellows here, as well as the acrylic ink. I also have some paint markers because essentially that's still acrylic. So I have them in a few shades there. Pull this over to the side. So all my yellows are here, although I don't see myself wanting to use yellow very much. I may, but there is all the yellows I think I brought with me. Yep, so they're all the yellows I've pulled out for the yellow portion. And then for the pink, I kind of went a little bit crazy. So I tried like varying shades of pink from light to dark. So there's my paper artsy ones that I really love. I've got some fluoro pink. I've got various paint markers in various shades of pink. Obviously pink is my strong suit. So I also have some of the Liquitex ones, and I have 3 of Jane's pinks from different shades there. And then I have the muted pink, and I have the acrylic ink in muted pink as a maybe. And then for gold, I literally have 3 things because I don't have that much gold in my stash. So I have Jane's paint from the new set with all the royal stuff. So all the, I think there's bronze and stuff. I'm not quite sure. I really need to work out what's in that set, but there's metallics in there, the metallics range, I think that's what it is. I have a gold paint pen and then a Posca gold paint pen as well. So that is the colorway in which I went with. So I had, like I said, a bit of creative freedom by picking up acrylic ink, and that's purely because the person didn't put acrylic ink or acrylic paint, they just said acrylic. So this is probably the first time that I've pulled so many items out, and that's because I wanted to make sure that I was giving myself every opportunity. Look at all that pink. Somebody's addicted to pink. So yes, and obviously jellyfish is the element, and like I said, I have not actually drawn any jellyfish before. I have looked online at a few things, well, not a few things, but a few pictures of jellyfish. I've typed in pink jellyfish because essentially my jellyfish will probably be pink, but that is the supplies that I've pulled out. I will have to grab a palette because I don't have my plastic one here, but the acrylic paint will come off here, it just needs to soak. So yes, that's all the things that I've got, and the word is light, so I will look up a quote later. But I think I will go probably here. So I've got very clean spread. This again is the Midori MD in the cotton. I will be doing a planners and journals in 2018 very soon, probably for YouTube because they poor guys need a video from me. I have my pink pencil, my eraser. I probably will maybe line in pen because I'm not actually very good at lining in paint because I'm not actually very comfortable with acrylic paint. I haven't used it in a really, really long time, and I tend to water it down to be almost like a watercolor. And I will come back in a second because I want to make sure that my autofocus doesn't play games with me throughout this video because it just can't handle all the angles. Okay, that is set to manual focus, and I need to grab some paintbrushes. So I also don't have any water in here. Wow, I'm super ready for this challenge, aren't I? Good job. A little detail brush. Get a couple of paintbrushes out. One of these is the Dina Wakley paintbrushes that I got gifted for Christmas. And some of the Liquitex Basics ones. Again, I don't have very many paintbrushes for acrylic, and I am not using my watercolor brushes. Is that a paint? Yeah, okay. All right, I am going to start by sketching out something. It will have a jellyfish with it, so that is what I'm going to do first. I will need to look at some reference images, especially for that look like that ribbon effect down the bottom of the jellyfish. My hands haven't drawn it before, so I will need to give it a little bit of help. If it's something that I'm very capable of doing, I don't need any help. But for something that I've not drawn before, like I said, will do reference images, especially like you saw with the fox drawing. I look up images and then go from there. But it will be very whimsical based, and I do kind of want it over here and flowing down here so that I still have room to journal and stuff, because again, this is my journal, so I do want to add some journaling in there and incorporate sort of proper like my writing and things like that. So I'm gonna stop babbling because I've been talking for long enough, so the rest of it will be sped up, and if there is a need for a voiceover, I will voice over some bits and pieces, or I'll come back in every now and again and just tell you my thought process because you guys seem to like that, which will negate me having to do a voiceover if I come in and basically tell you what I'm doing and thinking. But first, I need some water to wash my brushes. Where is my cups? I must have taken them all out in preparation for this video and then just left them on the kitchen bench like a boss. So, but I will sketch first because I'm not touching any paint or ink or anything like that until I've got a sketch down. But it will have a creature as well as a jellyfish, or it's sort of... Anyway, I've got an idea. There is a jellyfish. That is the part of the challenge. So we're going to focus on the jellyfish first. So let's get started, shall we? Alright, first up I have gone and looked at tentacles because I couldn't find, there's me putting my camera up and not remembering that it's on autofocus or manual focus, whichever. Anyway, I went looking for tentacles just to sort of get an idea about the way in which they worked and how they sort of looked so that I could abstract them to suit my picture. I didn't want photorealism, that's not who I am as an artist, so I needed to sort of get my hand to do the motion, if you will, of what they sort of look like, because like I said, I have not drawn jellyfish before and I didn't know exactly the sort of shape in which the tentacles were. So I just basically pulled up a picture and got my hand to do the swooping motion of what I considered tentacle enough like for a jellyfish, and then just went with that. And obviously I've drawn a Nook and using the jellyfish as like her hat almost. I knew I was either going to do it as her hat or as her skirt, and I just happened to decide to do it as her... Oh, now they're going to come and collect the rubbish. Sounds of Courtney. Rubbish trucks. Anyway, the beauty of working at home and all the sounds that come with it. So I'm using my pink Color Eno pencil and my fantastic Dust Catch Tombow eraser that I'm obsessed with. You guys know, you've seen my eraser drawer, I collect them all. And I'm trying not to get too fussy with my picture. I am upset with how I divided up the hat, and I think that was the one thing that I would change if I would go back now. I am considering making her a headdress to cover up the top of that jellyfishy hat bit, just the top bit where I've done sort of the segments. I don't know, I didn't love it, and I loved it less and less as I went on. So I am just grabbing all the pinks in the light shades and a little bit of the acrylic ink to help me because I knew that I couldn't obviously line in paint because I just don't have the skill set, and I didn't want to attempt that either. So I'm just adding some of the lightest of the pinks in and then working my way through the different shades, just using a really basic paintbrush. I did swap to a smaller one because I was too heavy-handed. Cannot be trusted with large paintbrushes, that's for sure. And I'm just going in and adding that blush paint, which is the lightest shade, and then working my way through the pinks basically, and trying to add some of it to the tentacles, and then trying to leave a little bit of light, using that acrylic ink as a shader, so watering down that ink and shading it. So I've popped my paintbrush into the water, then into the ink to sort of dilute it a bit so that I'm not getting such crazy contrast, because that acrylic ink is super pigmented, and if you're not thinking, you can just accidentally do some really hardcore pink. And in any other circumstance I would love that, but I really wanted to build my pinks up slowly. I did come in with my graphic pencil, like a lead pencil, and that is purely because I was having trouble with all the pink, seeing some of my lines and seeing any definition. I didn't want all the facial features to be lined in that magenta pink, which is what I would have had to have done. So I made an executive decision to come in with lead pencil just to help my picture just stand out a little bit amongst all the pink, because with all the tentacle lines and all that sort of stuff, the little creature was actually getting lost, and it was not something that I liked the look of. So I just came in with my Mab Graves pencil, I'm getting tongue-tied, and just lined certain things like her face, her eyes, her nose, some of the tentacle lines, and darkening up some of the areas that I had trouble seeing when I was trying to paint. So I don't find lead pencil a cheat. I did actually draw the picture in pink pencil first. It's just with all the pink, I really could not see some of the features, and I didn't have a small enough paintbrush to try and line it, but I'm really glad that I added that sort of grey. It really helped lift it a bit and made her stand out a lot more. But I'm just adding all the different pinks again, and then definitely coming in with that magenta ink, which is by far the best decision to put that little baby on the palette.
We got no end, another sequel about to land. Oh, my love, reform and rise to be so free. In time we seize infinity. Growing love. Hello, my heartbeat.
This picture is basically a lot of building with little marks and little strokes and things, especially with the magenta ink, just adding lots of little layers and sort of blending them out and layering again and layering again. Now what I've done is, because my paint markers, my gold ones, I've got such fat tips, I've actually put the paint onto my placemat next to me and then used my little paintbrush to add little tiny gold dots so that I didn't have to try and muddle my way through a really giant felt tip. And I didn't have any fine tipped gold pens, so I literally had to just work with what I had. And then I just like to add little accent ones. I put little dots on her face and around the edges of some of the tentacles, and then tried to do it with the paint and was failing hard. So that's just a tip. If you don't want to have to deal with a really fat nibbed texter or paint pen, you can definitely just go with what you know, basically. And just using that little paintbrush really helped. Although getting the dried paint marker off my placemat is another story, and yes, it's stained, and yes, I'm mad.
And you will be going strong.
I noticed I was having a lot of trouble trying to get those shadows in with that dark magenta. Even with the muted pink, I was having trouble getting that shadowy down, so the grey pencil really helped. Then I tried to tackle the background and wanted to try and add some of the yellow in because yellow was part of the challenge. So I've mixed up like a mustard yellow with the blush pink, and I'm gonna say I'm not a huge fan of how it looked at this stage, but adding bits and pieces to it, adding some of that muted pink ink, trying for that sort of rose tea look with acrylic paint. Don't think I achieved it, but it's okay. Adding some of that magenta ink to darken up the edges, and just sort of trying really hard. I would have killed for like an indigo blue at this stage. Then I decided that fluoro yellow would be a great idea, and then backpedaled madly and was like, what were you thinking, you absolute idiot? And so I quickly covered that up and I just added more magenta. When in doubt, add some hot pink and some dark pink and some more pink. And so I let that dry because I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I decided to come in a second. Actually, not quite yet. Yeah, in a second I add my border because again, this is my journal and I needed some sort of contrast. So I came in with my black pen to make my little journaling spot and made sort of a wavy, squiggly border that looked like tentacles, and added little tentacle legs to my journaling spot just to sort of keep in with the theme and sort of break up all that crazy amounts of pink. And then I decided that it was time for a quote, so I got out my typewriter and typed out most of the quote, and I was just missing the word light, because light is the word from the actual challenge prompt, and I wanted to make that stand out a little bit. And this is an Ernest Hemingway quote, and I really love it. And it says, "We are all broken, that's how the light gets in." And I absolutely loved that, turning a negative into a positive. It was the perfect quote for me. And I just typed that up onto some yellow legal paper, trying to stay in with the theme, and just layered that over my little illustration. Again, I always talk about layering things over other things to sort of make it more cohesive and make it not look like it's just been slapdashed on there, and more squiggly lines to sort of go with the theme of the jellyfish. And I'm using my multi-ball here because I can. As you guys know, in the Cotton MD, the multi-ball actually bleeds through my paper, but the acrylic paint has created a buffer, so it meant that I could use it. Okay, Inkies, I am done with this spread. I just need to add my journaling and things. I'm not completely happy with how she turned out. There's an area up here that is just driving me nuts, and I'm not quite sure what I want to do. I even tried to cut out a collage element from this month's sheets, or next month's sheets, but it covers up the quote, so it doesn't quite work. I don't know. There's just this area here is annoying me, and I'll probably end up doing something with it off camera or later on. But I know if I keep trying to fiddle with it, I'll just get more and more frustrated. But there is my take on the entire thing. I do love the general look of it all. I think it works really well, and I'll add my journaling and stuff. And I'll probably add little bits and pieces as time goes on, maybe like some photos or something. I'm not quite sure, but I will add some of my life onto the spread, because obviously my journal is very much works in progress where things come together. But I wanted to do the challenge on its own, and then as time went on, add my own bits and pieces. So I've got like my little paper plate and stuff, so I'm just looking at elements and things that I can add now that the challenge bit is over. What can I add to it to sort of just give it a bit more oomph? I didn't use as much yellow as I thought I would. I did come in with a few yellow pencils at the end, just off camera when I was chatting away to my mum, because I felt like it needed something. But yeah, there's something about this section here that I've tried darkening it up. I've tried a few different things, but I'm just going to leave it now because I know I won't be happy and then this video will never get done. So I want to see what you guys do. Do not think that you need to turn your jellyfish into a creature. That's just my take on it. I want to see all different takes on this challenge. That's the whole point, and I know that you guys have fantastic ways of making that happen. So I'm just going to finish my journaling. My phone is going nuts over there, and get to moving on in my journal. So you guys know that I'm in the Midori MD, and this is the cotton, and I started this in 2018, and I haven't really officially said much about it because I was going to do a journal and planners video. I still will, but this is the journal that I'm currently working in, and I'm really enjoying it so far. It's going really well. I am really loving how the page is a lot more sturdier and stuff, so I've got stuff to put here. That's why I skipped a page and did this here. So I'm just writing about my feelings about this quote. I really loved the quote. I was like, yeah, found a good one. So it says, "We are all broken, that's how the light gets in," by Ernest Hemingway. And sometimes I do feel like a little bit broken. So it was a nice quote to sort of, a nice happy quote. Anyway, I have so much to do on my to-do list, and I want to see your challenges. There is a post in the Facebook group. Pop your pictures down below. And I can't wait to see what you guys do, and there will be a new challenge in the first week of February so that we can get started. We've got the full 4 weeks, and I can get my challenge video into the video schedule for you guys. So have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you very soon. Bye. Let's be real, that's what it is. I am going to talk my way through what I want to pack for my trip. Let me just see if everything is in frame, because I want you to see everything.